Hello and welcome to one-on-one boxing. We're here in Sheffield ahead of Lee Wood versus Josh Warrington. As you can hear and as you can see, the weigh-in in full flow behind me here in Sheffield as we gear up to an all-British featherweight world title fight tomorrow night in Sheffield. It's Lee Wood versus Josh Warrington, both two-time featherweight champions of the world. Just going to wait until we fill up a little bit in the live chat. Also going to make a few adjustments to the laptop while we're waiting. But stay with us as we gear up to Wood versus Warrington. Make sure, as always, you like, comment, and subscribe to One-on-One Boxing. We'll be live from all of the major events every Friday, every weigh-in. As you can see, I'm not actually in shot at the minute. Should be appearing in a second. Here we go, here we go. Ever so slightly behind on the delay. There I am, and I'm back here live in Sheffield as David Diamante, the master of ceremonies. Danny, you can walk past, Danny. That's okay. We can let him pass. We'll let Danny pass. It looks a bit like Lee Wood, rocking the Lee Wood haircut as well here in support of Lee Wood. I'm not going to talk over David Diamante because he might tell us off, so we'll just wait for David Diamante to introduce the next fight. Much more rich voice than I have, David Diamante. You've got my squeaky voice, or you've got the audio chocolate of David Diamante here in Sheffield. Just waiting for things to get up and running. Always a nightmare when you see yourself on a stream after a long, hard, busy week. It is Friday, so do forgive me for my slovenly attire. We all know at One-on-One Boxing, I usually like to turn up in a tuxedo, dress the part, look the part, be the part, as they say. Junaid Bostan now on his way to the ring. Junaid Bostan, a lot to like about him. Trains out of that Steel City gym with Grant Smith, of course, father and trainer of Dalton Smith. Very, very talented young man, Junaid Bostan, switch hitting, 154-pound prospect. Had to show a lot in his last fight, went the distance for the first time in a grueling fight. But a lot to like about him, as I say, training out of that gym in Sheffield, in Steel City with Grant Smith, which, of course, boasts IBF flyweight world champion Sonny Edwards, who is in the vicinity as well. Hopefully we're going to grab him here on One-on-One Boxing today. Junaid Bostan hitting the scales. Still a very growing young man. 155.7, so just slightly over that super welterweight limit of 154 pounds. But as we all know, it's pointless in trying to make those weights early in your career. There's no point trying to kill yourself when you're still growing and there's no titles on the line. But Junaid Bostan returns this weekend, one of the best prospects in British boxing, and certainly somebody who we're looking forward to seeing in action tomorrow night. Don't forget to get your predictions in, get your likes, your comments, and subscribe. Subscribe to One-on-One Boxing for all of your latest and greatest in boxing content. Just waiting here. I think we're getting down to business now. The title fight's on the card, but we're going to have a nice little spicy face-off beforehand. So I'm going to get out of the way because people, you don't want to see me. You want to see the fighters facing off. So here we go. I'm actually ducking down to the side. Junaid Bostan facing off there as he returns this weekend. Always got plenty to say for himself, Junaid Bostan, which we're a big fan of here on One-on-One Boxing. We do like fighters who've got a little bit to say for themselves. A very young, confident prospect and a very young talent, Junaid Bostan, looking to make a splash on his return to the ring. Ben, just checking up. We've gone from the Twitters and Facebooks and bits and pieces as well. Yeah, we are live here. So get those questions in, because otherwise it's just me talking to myself. Probably help if you could see me. There I am. I'm back. I'm back in business. Don't forget to get those questions in. Always a little bit ad hoc here on One-on-One Boxing. Just got a chap walking past. He must mistake us for somebody important because he doesn't want to walk in front of the stream. We're not very important here. So as we wait for the next fight, I think Hopi Price in a 12-rounder, his first 12-round contest. Good performance last time out from Hopi Price, stopping Jimmy Beach. Jimmy Beach, a very tough man. Going to wave to Dave Caldwell over there who can see us from off. Just going to get out of the way again because, sharing a screen with very, very fit and able fighters it's not good for my self-esteem or my confidence. So I'm going to stand out of the way. Conor Coghill from Liverpool, first to the stage, first to the scales. He'll be looking to become the first man to defeat young Hopi Price this weekend. Hopi Price, I like the way that they've brought him on. I have to say, I think he's been brought on very well. Dave Caldwell's been very, very open about the fact that they're not necessarily looking to rush him. It's a very long career ahead of him. I remember attended some of his first fights, boxed out in Saudi Arabia on the Ruiz Joshua 2 undercard. Just starting to develop now into a championship fighter, fighting his first 12-round bout this weekend. Hopey Price, an eliminator for the British featherweight title as well, of course, held by Scotland's Nathaniel Collins. Quite a lot of noise there for Conor Coghill, I believe, hitting the scales, or would it have been Hopey Price? It's more Hopey Price territory here than it is Conor Coghill. Getting a good shot of them on the scales there as Hopey Price weighs in Sheffield. 125.3, so inside the featherweight limit for Hopey Price, who will be looking to zero in on a British featherweight title shot against Nathaniel Collins some stage in the near future. Very good fight. Impressed, as I said, about the way that they've brought Hopey Price along. They haven't rushed him, which is often the tendency when you've got a young talent like him. But in 12 rounds for the first time tomorrow night against Conor Coghill in Sheffield. We're just waiting for them to have their face-off now. Here we go, here we go. JHC 797 says, who wins, Rob? I think gun to my head. I'm probably going to wait until you can actually see me, so you can see the look in my eyes. I'm deadly serious. No, it's just a bit weird to answer questions from off screen, which gives us a little bit more time for the questions to start flooding in. Make sure you hit that like button. It does help our stream. It does help push one-on-one boxing out to the masses where it deserves. Extended face-off here tonight, or today rather. I'm crouched down in a very uncomfortable position, so I'm glad that face-off ended when it did, so I can get back off my weary knees. Okay, so I'm about to make my appearance. It's sort of like when people used to pretend they're in an elevator, so I could just sort of come up very slowly like that there. But anyway, who do I pick? I'm assuming you're asking about the main event tomorrow night. I think you have to lean towards Leigh Wood. I think the activity of Leigh Wood in particular has been a significant factor, or could well be a significant factor in this fight. So I'll just make the coffee mic swap. But yeah, I think Leigh Wood has boxed twice this year. He's boxed twice since Luis Alberto Lopez dethroned Josh Warrington in Leeds last December. And I think that could be a significant factor on Saturday night. He's the older man though, Leigh Wood, 35 years of age. How is he at the weight? This will be the third time he's made weight in 6 months, 7 months, which is sort of unheard of, really, for a world champion to be as active as Leigh Wood has been. He's boxed very, very good opposition, of course. We've seen Can Xu in recent times. They had that brilliant fight with Michael Collin, the 2 fights with Mauricio Lara, and now the 2-time featherweight champion of the world, Josh Warrington. So Leigh Wood is a man in form. He's been very busy, been very active, which is not something that we can say about Josh Warrington, albeit Josh Warrington does have the pedigree at the top level. It wasn't that long ago where Josh Warrington was considered not only the best featherweight in the world, but one of the best pound-for-pound fighters, certainly in Britain, if not Britain, indeed the world. Really, really, really good fight here on the undercard. Kieran Conway versus Linus Adofia in a final eliminator for the British middleweight title. Very, very well contested fight this. You've got 2 boxers who should really blend style-wise. Kieran Conway, of course, I mean, it's mental to see him in the shape that he's in now, 160 pounds, when you consider it wasn't that long ago, he was 154 pounds. But I don't expect him to be undersized, as Linus Udofia weighs in at 159.4, so inside the 160-pound middleweight limit. Linus Udofia, Kieran Conway, about to hit the scales, looks in tremendous physical condition. If I shaved my chest, I'd look exactly like Kieran Conway does right now. 159.6, so we have a fight in the British middleweight title eliminator between Kieran Conway and Linus Udofia. Really difficult fight to split, I must say. I can't pick anyone from Luton, so I'm going to go for Kieran Conway. Sorry, Linus, but I'm not sorry because you're from Luton. I'm only joking, people from Luton. Don't send the guys. Don't send the people, the men, the bad men. As we wait for Kieran Conway and Linus Udofia to square off. Who do you think's going to win out of that one? That's a great fight. Linus Udofia came up short against Denzel Bentley for the British title not so long ago. We've seen Denzel Bentley give a very good account of himself at world level against Janibek Alam Hanouli. This is a cracker on the undercard tomorrow night. It's probably the fight where, I mean, I am looking forward to Warrington the most tomorrow night, but this is the one for me on the undercard. Kieran Conway versus Linus Udofia. A lot on the line. Two good, fundamentally sound boxers. Linus Udofia been at the weight for a lot longer than Kieran Conway, but as you can see by the frame of Kieran Conway, I have no idea how that guy used to make 154 pounds. He looks like he's bursting at the seams, even at middleweight. Nice little bit of spice there at the face-off. Keeping that eye contact. Excellent fight tomorrow night on the Warrington undercard. I think I'd probably have to edge towards, all things being serious, I would have to edge towards Kieran Conway. I just think he's probably boxed on the higher stage. He's boxed on Canelo Alvarez undercard. He's had some big opportunities, Kieran Conway, and a very good, fundamentally sound boxer as I just kind of scan and scope out potential guests here for one-on-one boxing afterwards. To see Zelfa Barrett sat there, super featherweight world-ranked contender, knocking on the door of a world title shot, chasing down Joe Cordina, as are many at 130 pounds. Hopefully we can grab a word with him. And we have, I think, Tom Loeffler over there. I wonder who Tom Loeffler's working with here. Of course, the long-time promoter of Gennady Golovkin, among others. So a few interesting people popping up here, and it always is in fight. We can never know who you're going to get. Here we go. The noise has just gone up ever so slightly here at the weigh-in as we wait for Terry Harper to hit the scales. She's boxing former long-reigning welterweight champion of the world, Cecilia Breakhouse, over 10 two-minute rounds tomorrow. Cecilia... Huh? Tom Loeffler apparently is working with Cecilia Breakhouse. The information from Ben Faruqi knows everything, knows absolutely everything. But yes, Cecilia Breakhouse, who's now 42 years of age, the first lady, as she's known, a long-reigning former welterweight champion of the world, really was one of the biggest stars in female boxing, without disrespecting her. I think slightly before the time whereby female boxing really started to take off. May have just missed the boat for those big fights, Cecilia Breakhouse. The noise here has just gone up an octave with Terry Harper about to weigh in. Of course, Terry Harper from just down the way in Doncaster. Now, of course, the 154-pound world champion, Harper, who's made kind of one of those crazy jumps that we've seen from the likes of Natasha Jonas, etc. in the past, as we wait for Cecilia Breakhouse to hit the scale. Should have no problem making away. Of course, a long time welterweight now, 153.9 for the first lady, Cecilia Breakhouse, who is ready to go tomorrow night against Terry Harper. Terry Harper now, of course, up at 154 pounds after moving up from 130 after that loss to Alicia Baumgardner a couple of years ago. Hitting the scale. 150.4. I was just making sure that I got that right, because of course that is just over 3 pounds inside the 154-pound limit for the super welterweight world title. We're going to get a face-off now, so you're going to get my fat, horrible, ugly mug out of the way so we can see the fighters square off. Breakhouse, the more experienced competitor, but you just have to wonder what she does have left now at 42 years of age. Whereas Terry Harper looked rejuvenated up at 154 pounds. By all accounts, I think making 130 wasn't the easiest for her. We saw her punch resistance wane in spectacular fashion against Alicia Baumgardner, but now up 154 pounds, she says she's more fit, she's more able, she's fresher, she has more energy. And I expect her to look good against Cecilia Breakhouse, so I think we'll struggle with the youth, the freshness of Terry Harper tomorrow night. Still having a little look around at potential guests that we can nab onto the live stream afterwards. Remember, guys and girls, to get your questions in, hit the like button and subscribe to One-on-One Boxing. Dr. Draker asks, any word on how Lee Wood is at the weight? They have said it is likely his last fight at featherweight. It is indeed. Well, it isn't indeed. We don't know what's going to happen. I'm sure if there's a massive, massive fight available to Lee Wood at featherweight, we could see him stay at 126 pounds. But, yeah, I don't know. He's 35 years of age now. He's been making featherweight for a long time. Well, he was down at super bantamweight for some of his career, but he's now up at featherweight. Again, forgive me, it's Friday. But yeah, I mean, we went to see Lee Wood a few weeks ago in camp. He did mention that it was getting more difficult now to make the weight. I'm not sure whether or not the back-to-back camps for Mr. O'Lara was a help or a hindrance. Lee Wood's not somebody who puts an awful lot of weight on anyway in between fights. So, you know, making weight 3 times in 6-7 months against good fighters, you know, is that a blessing or is that a hindrance? I guess we'll find out tomorrow night. Also worth pointing out that Josh Warrington has been making featherweight for a long, long time as well. How's he going to look? He hasn't boxed in 10 months. Which, of course, when you get to the stage of the career that both of these guys are at, they're both at the back end of their career, which is, of course, no disrespect to them. They're still very, very good fighters, world-class fighters in their own right, but they're not 23 and 25 anymore. They're 33 and 35 now. So it is more difficult to shift those final bits of weight as you get older, as we all know. Johnathon Banks there, former trainer of Vladimir Klitschko, former trainer of Dillian White for a period of time as well, now with Cecilia Breakhouse, the First Lady. Big cheers going up for Josh Warrington. We are, of course, in Yorkshire. We're not in Leeds, but we are at Down Road in Sheffield, and they are making themselves known here. Just getting a little bit of a buzz from them. The Nottingham faithful won't like being outgunned. Will they be outgunned tomorrow night? We'll find out. But I think we've got, is it main event time next? I think we've got the main event next, guys and girls. Looking forward to it. Do you know what? No weigh-in in the morning and then a weigh-in in the afternoon. We don't like that here at 101 Boxing. What we like is we like to see them both making the weight and getting a stage and getting really angry with each other. Like keeping it nice and respectful, but still a nice bit of beef is what we came for, really, isn't it? Like we want to see them. Not everybody can walk around all chubby like me. We're making eyes at Dave Coldwell over there. I'm going to try and get Dave Coldwell on the live stream in a short while. We've got Steve Woods, Zelfa Barrett, Sam Jones, among other people here. But I think we are getting ready to weigh in for the main event. Don't forget to get your comments in. Who do you think is going to win? Is it going to be Lee Wood? Is it going to be Josh Warrington? Or, if you're like me, do you want to see the weigh-in first? Because I think we can always take a little bit, at least, from the weigh-in. Matt Butters, shout out Matt Buffers every time. Udofia Conway, who's the favourite in that fight, do you think? I think Udofia probably, but the inactivity raises questions. It's a good fight. It's a good fight, Matt Butters. Yeah, I would probably lean ever so slightly more towards Kieran Conway, but it is a difficult fight to pick. I think it's, alongside the main event, the most well-matched fight on the card. I think Kieran Conway's experience on boxing on the big stage, of course, boxed Suleiman Sissoko on a Canelo Alvarez undercard. He's equipped and he's done very well for himself. I think Kieran Conway, when you consider where he's come from in his career, starved of opportunities at certain stages, but I don't know, for me, every time I look at Kieran Conway box, I always think that he may be able to do a little bit more. He may be able to just go through the gears a bit more. Beautiful, classical boxer. Billy Joe Saunders just walking past us here. Hello, Billy Joe. Didn't expect to see him today. Been a little while since I've seen Billy Joe. But he is back and looking, by the way, in pretty svelte condition. Not really one for me to judge another man's weight, but I think you can always tell the confidence of a fighter when it comes to weight by what colour T-shirt they're wearing. If they're wearing black like me, it's not looking good, bro. Okay, waiting for us to fill up here. Don't forget to hit that like button. Matt Butter says, what's the over-under of crowd scraps? I wouldn't like to venture a guess, to be honest with you, mate, but I'm not there to sort out all of the problems, you see. So if security need a hand tomorrow night, you know, my rate is, well, to be fair, email me, robert@idsportsmedia.com. and we can take it from there. I'll put out any fires that need putting out tomorrow night in Sheffield. But everybody, if you're at the fight tomorrow night, leave the fighting to the fighters. Leave it in the ring and try and enjoy yourself, man. Nobody wants to go to a boxing show on a Saturday night and get filled in, man. It's not a good look for anybody. You go back home to the missus, what happened? I thought the boxing was in the ring. You just got mashed up, man. It's just not good. But here we go. We are waiting. David Diamante is keeping us hanging in suspense for the main event. Looks like he's about to get going. A little coffee break. I tell you what, it's hot in here, Ben. It's either hot in here or I'm fat. Or it could be both. Oh, you're hot and you're skinny, so yeah. Don't forget to get your questions in. And, of course, don't forget to tell us your prediction for tomorrow night's main event. Will it be Lee Wood? Will it be Josh Warrington? I think we're just getting the arrivals of Team Wood in the background over there. We've got Lee Wiley, Barry Smith, of course, part of the training team alongside Ben Davison, just across the way on the other side. Waiting to get things going now. Stay with us here on One-on-One Boxing. Hit the like button, comment with your pick for tomorrow night, and of course, subscribe for more boxing content. Sorry, I'm just kind of barking stuff from off screen here as we wait for David Diamante, keeping everybody hanging and everybody waiting in suspense is David Diamante. Almost ready to go by the looks of things. We've got Lee Wood from off the stage there, giving me a little nod, looking in good spirits, Lee Wood, probably for a man who hasn't eaten or drank anything for 2 days anyway. And Steve Wood, the one and only Steve Wood, walking past the stream. Big up Steve Wood every time. One of the realest G's in the boxing biz is Steve Wood. We're weighing in. So I'm just diving out here and doing some retweeting and quote tweeting, trying to get everybody in the chat, guys. We've got to get the likes up. We've got to get the comments in. We've got to get the questions for the people. Join us live now on One-on-One Boxing. Sorry, I'm typing out loud. Anybody who is familiar with the streams here knows I am a little bit mental on these streams. So if you're new here, nothing's gone wrong. This is just how things usually operate. So we are live on One-on-One Boxing, and we are ready for the main event to weigh in. David Diamante right on cue there. The main event coming up next for David Diamante.
And it's now time to weigh in the main event of the evening. As Mr. Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing is proud to present 12 rounds, the WBA Featherweight Championship of the World. Not in Leeds, would be Warrington. Now making his way to stage, please welcome the challenger.
Just getting ready here for the entrance of Josh Warrington. Punch Perfect Boxing, big up Punch Perfect Boxing. If you're not a fan of Punch Perfect Boxing, get out of here. The one and only Jamie Bourne, Boxer Bourne on Twitter, asks, more Notts or Leeds fans there, Rob? Comfortably more Leeds from the looks of things here. It is, of course, in Yorkshire. It's not in Leeds. It's in Sheffield. But it's all the same to us Southerners, isn't it? It's the north. The fight's in the north. But here comes Josh Warrington. Hasn't boxed since surrendering his featherweight title to Luis Alberto Lopez last December. Will the inactivity prove to be a problem for Josh Warrington as we hear the Leeds faithful serenading their man as he makes his way to the scales? Josh Warrington, bit of a point to prove here. We all know him as a former two-time featherweight champion of the world. He's had those big wins in those domestic fights before. He beat Lee Selby when everybody wrote him off. He beat Carl Frampton when everybody wrote him off. I know for a fact that Josh Warrington is bang up for this fight. A few years ago, this fight would have been a mismatch, would have been considered a mismatch, I should say, with Josh Warrington and Lee Wood sharing a card a couple of years ago. We had Josh Warrington against unknown, unheralded Mauricio Lara, and Lee Wood against Josh Warrington's stablemate Reece Mould. If you'd have said just a couple of years later we'd have had Wood Warrington for a world title with Wood as the defending champion, we'd have thought that you were crazy, even for boxing. Here we go. The boos are raining out here, or raining, whatever it is. The boos are coming for the champion. Lee Wood wanted that homecoming bout at his beloved City Ground in Nottingham. He's sort of the away fighter here, it has to be said. It's certainly the way things look and the way things feel in here. It looks as though this is a pro Josh Warrington crowd. This is a partisan atmosphere in favor of Josh Warrington, the challenger. Could that be a significant factor tomorrow night in Sheffield. UK Rob Boxing, let's get it, Rob. Let's go, champ. UK Rob Boxing, the second best Rob in all of boxing. But there he is, the champion, Lee Wood, making the second defense of his WBA featherweight title. But of course, only the first defense since winning the title back. Had a successful defense against Michael Collum as the security guard just walks past there and threatens to fill me in. No, I'm only joking, he didn't. Security here is very, very good. Warrington now hits the scales. 125.3 for Josh Warrington, comfortably inside the featherweight limit. Lee Wood now hits the scales. Josh Warrington looking in decent shape. The eyes are sunken and the face is bony, but that just tends to happen when you get to that stage, and we've seen it from Josh Warrington in the past, but comfortably inside the 126-pound limit. 125.7 for Lee Wood. We have a fight here in Sheffield tomorrow night. It's going down. It's the WBA Featherweight Championship of the world. It's Lee Wood versus Josh Warrington, an all-British world title fight. It's Nottingham versus Sheffield, as I just see the IBF Flyweight Champion of the world, Sonny Edwards, giving me a wave from off screen. I'm sure Sonny will want to come and give us his expert insight into what he expects to see tomorrow night from Lee Wood and Josh Warrington. I sparred, I think, Lee Wood on a number of occasions. It'll be interesting to see what his insight into this fight is, as both fighters just take a sip of water, or maybe a couple of sips of water as they prepare for their face-off. Lee Wood, they're donned in the Nottingham Forest scarf. Nottingham Forest and Leeds. The scarves are on, the face-off is here, and here we go in Sheffield. Lee Wood and Josh Warrington squaring off. I think I might actually get a chance to steal the belt. I'm going to try and steal the belt. Let's steal the belt. So we have the... Oh, it's the Intercontinental. I don't deal with the Intercontinental. It's the Intercontinental belt. There we go. The face-off is done. Lee Wood and Josh Warrington. We have a fight tomorrow night in Sheffield. Both fighters making weight. Yes, sunken eyes everywhere, but they're 33 and 35. They've both been making weight for a long time. It's just the nature of the beast nowadays. When have you seen a guy weigh in looking full, looking healthy? No. Looking full or looking healthy? We don't see it. We saw Jamel Charlo looking full and looking healthy in Las Vegas. 1 second. I'm just trying to alert Andi Purewal, who seems to have lost. Have a look. There's one in my bag. But there we go. They're really leaning on the football angle in the promo. Yeah, I mean, I have to be honest. I didn't really like. Well, we've got a guest. Is he coming? Is he coming? We've got Sonny Edwards.
I was coming to say hello.
The IBF Flyweight Champion of the world. We're just going to listen to Josh Warrington and see what he's got to say first. Difficult to hear them with the Leeds faithful. Just trying to. Oh, we can't. So we can't hear they can't hear the interviews on the stage. But no, they've had the best camp ever. They've made the weight better than they've ever made it. And there's going to be a new champion tomorrow night. Sonny, how are you?
Yeah, I can't really hear myself think right now. We've got Leeds and Nottingham fans going off in the back. But yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Rob, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Very well. We've just had a few comments in there. Is it more Leeds or is it more Nottingham? To me, it seems like a heavily Leeds favoured audience.
Yeah, but I don't know. It seemed like Nottingham as they were coming out, but I feel like it seems like Leeds when they was both on stage. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a great fight. I think there's a lot of fans coming from Nottingham on Saturday, so yeah, it's going to be a big fight. I think.
Just mentioned on the stream that you've had experience of sparring with Lee Wood. How different is Lee Wood now compared to the Lee Wood that you'd have encountered in the gym once upon a time?
Yeah, I didn't spar him too much. I sparred him a couple of times, I think. And yeah, since then he's gone on and shown in competitive rings complete levels to what he was doing. This was around the Jazza type of fight. Since he's linked up with Ben Davison, it's been no secret that he's definitely come on leaps and bounds and found his confidence, I think. Really found his footing and his style. So, yeah, probably completely different, to be honest. But Lee is a very dangerous fighter. He throws long levers with power behind him. And I think it's up to Josh to really find a way of getting in, making it rough and making it his style of fight. I think it's a hard ask for Josh, but, We've written him off maybe 1, 2, 3 times against British fighters before, and he always seems to just have that physical edge, the toughness. So it'll be interesting, this fight for sure.
We haven't seen Josh Warrington since he boxed with Alberto Lopez last December. We've seen Lee Wood twice since then, admittedly going 1-on-1 with Mauricio Lara, but still the more active fighter. How much do you think that's going to play a factor tomorrow night?
Yeah, I don't know. It's quite hard because Lopez has since come out and shown him to be a very highly rated fighter. Now he seems like the man in the division, maybe. And I don't know. I have big question marks over the Lee Wood second fight with Lara. I don't know. Call me devil's advocate. It just looked like a man that was in the ring not trying. I'll be real. Shoot me, sue me, whatever. But that's just how it seemed like looking to me. I'd seen Lara now 3 or 4 times, and he looked like a completely different person in the ring with no real fire, desire to win. It's like he had a 150 to him to lose, a 50-1 on, you know what I mean? So I don't know. That performance for me always has massive question marks. But regardless, Lee has shown he is a very high level. His knockout against Mick Connolly staged dangerous throughout the fight. Has Josh Warrington maybe peaked and maybe he's on the slide? We don't know. Maybe both fighters are. Who knows? I do think it's a very well-matched fight. 2 fighters that are probably shown around the same in their careers, maybe in slight different ways, but they both got big supports from their local constituencies, and I'm really looking forward to coming together in the neutral ground in between. I don't know how many people's geography, but in between Leeds and Nottingham, Sheffield is the only place, the only city, so it is literally meeting in the middle, 2 Midlands type Yorkshire northern cities. It's going to be great. I can't wait for it.
And before we let you go, we are, of course, now fully on the way to Rodriguez Edwards, December the 16th in Arizona. We've seen you on the press tours. You must be chomping at the bit for that super fight, that flyweight unification fight with Ban Rodriguez.
Yeah, and I'm ready to go now. Genuinely, I was ready to go before I went to America. I haven't really stayed at the gym since I come out the ring of Campos. If anything, that was like a pre-season match for the Champions League final. This is the final coming up now. And yeah, any week now, they offered it to me earlier, I'll take it. I'm ready to go. My weight's good. My fitness is good. Sparring, I'm doing rounds and rounds and rounds against great fighters. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really buzzing and looking forward to go.
And we look forward to seeing it. Right, before we let you go, so we need to look into that camera there, and I want you to give us a prediction. Lee Wood versus Josh Warrington tomorrow night. How does it go down?
I think it's going to be a great fight. I think it's going to be one for the fans. I think by the 3rd round, we're going to be dodging, UFOs getting thrown into the ring. So, I don't know. I'm going to make sure I bring my umbrella. I'm going to make sure that I go out the back as well. You know what I mean? It might get a bit rowdy out the way. I've got a big fight coming up. I think the winner is going to be the fans and British boxing. We need events like these. We need, British versus British. All the fans coming out, getting excited. I don't really know who's going to win. I think it depends whose style gets imposed on the fight the most and earliest. I think you got to favour Lee Wood maybe. But like I said to myself, a few years ago after the Carl Framptons, the Selbys, the Kid Gallahads, I am not going to bet against Josh Warrington no more, especially not in a Britain versus Britain ring. For some reason, he's just got a different level of teak toughness that against a British fighter, a European fighter, seems to go straight for him. Yeah, maybe against the Mexican fighters, it unravels a little bit, but he seems to always be the man against Britain. So either way right now for me.
Sonny Edwards sitting on the fence there on one-on-one boxing. Always a pleasure catching up with you. I'm sure we will speak ahead of in December. It's one-on-one boxing.
What platform is this now?
Don't worry about it.
Every single time you have a different name, Rob.
We're branching out. We're franchising.
So what is this?
This is one-on-one and boxing news.
One-on-one.
Boxing news social, one-on-one YouTube.
Did I just hear social in there?
Boxing news social. Get out of here.
Oh, very original.
There we go. Sonny Edwards. Always a pleasure to catch up with the flyweight champion of the world. Just going to have a little look around at who else we could potentially grab and bring in. I'm eyeing up Barry Smith, who is always an interesting fella. We could grab Zelfa Barrett, rather than grabbing Zelfa. Going to be bringing Zelfa Barrett, whose watch probably costs more than my house. Here we go. The one and only, the Brown Flash, Zelfa Barrett, joining us here. How are you, Zelfa? Nice to see you.
Good, how are you, man?
I'm very well, thanks. Very well. Big smile on your face. Are you as excited about this one as I am?
Big fight, very big fight. No danger. Just don't interrupt me again. I don't myself.
Steve Wood there. Just tell me, he's obviously seen you with me and think, Zelfa's in good hands. I can leave him. Anyway, back to the fight. Excited for this one?
So excited, you know, two good fighters, great clash of styles, you know, world title on the line, egos on the line, big fight.
And also that local rivalry. We've got Nottingham versus Leeds, which isn't like geography-wise isn't super duper close, but when you consider the football fans and the rivalry
Close.
between the clubs,
Close.
and it's close enough
Close.
to make it very, very interesting, isn't it?
Very close, very close.
What about yourself, Zelfa? What you got going on at the minute? When can we expect to see you in the ring again?
Hopefully November 25th in Dublin. So
No, you're kind of in one of those the little awkward period at the minute, aren't you?
Yeah.
Where you're waiting for that world title shot. Frustrating, or just kind of part and parcel of being a boxer at that stage of your career?
you know what it is in life. There's always standstills, ups, downs. So I'm at that point where I'm gonna have to keep beating these guys to get to where I need to be, really. So it is what it is. I'll just put out a performance, keep winning, all I can do.
We've got Joe Cordina back in action in Monaco in a matter of weeks' time. I'm sure you've got more than one eye on his fight.
No doubt, but you know, he had his path where he wants to go, so can't really jump in his path, you know what I mean? I've got to just ride my own wave and just see where I'm going.
Now, one of the things that we've spoken about here, and one of the things that I've spoken to both Josh and Lee about and their teams, is the fact that they're both, you know, they're not getting any younger. They've both been making featherweight for a while. Certainly Josh for the vast majority of his career. They're both looking at potentially going up to 130, which is, of course, Zelfa Barrett's division. Either one of those tickle your fancy for a potential fight?
Never Josh.
Never, Josh.
He's a good guy, I'm a cool boxing business, but Josh is my brother, man. Been sparring Josh since Liam Woodstock days. Like, nah, my brother. I'll say no. You might say yeah, I'll say no.
I was going to say, we had Josh Warrington on here before. He said he'd love to fight you, Zelfa. So
Oh, nah.
going on to the fight itself, it seems to me that a couple of years ago when we had Josh Warrington versus Mauricio Lara with Lee Wood and Reece Mould on the undercard, if you'd have said in a couple of years' time we'd have had Wood Warrington with Wood as the champion, everyone would have thought you were a bit mental. Do you think that's fair to say? A couple of years ago, even though boxing is a quite strange sport, the fact that we're here, I think is just quite incredible when you consider the career path of both of them. And now Wood, well, maybe not sizable, but a clear enough favourite at the bookies for this fight.
As they say about women, they've had a glow up. They had a glow up. Took his opportunity against the called Cantu. And then look where it's gone from there. You know, when you become a world champion, they say you become like 5% better. And, you know, he's just been getting better and better.
Now, one of the things that we've spoken to Josh about is the fight with Luis Alberto Lopez. By his own admission, just couldn't quite get into the fight quick enough. He had that jaw injury against Kiko, of course, and then sort of struggled to get into the fight until those middle rounds. With that being said, how important is it for Josh to start the fight tomorrow night fast? Be that Josh Warrington that we saw start the Carl Frampton fight, where he kind of went out there, put it on Frampton, and then it was kind of away. How important is it that we see that from Josh?
Of course, you know, style make fights, game plan. So surely he'll know that kind of in his head, don't leave it to the judges, do what I've got to do kind of thing. And obviously you got Lee Wood probably countering, stepping back, looking like, so it's a good fight.
What does Josh have to be wary of with Lee Wood? People talk, Ben Davison in particular, about Lee Wood's punching power. Where does Josh need to be wary in the fight?
Hard to say, because Lee Wood can do box long and close, like he's short uppercut when he put Lara down. So ideally you want him to be close as you can, you know, because Lee Wood's a very good boxer. But yeah, we'll just see.
Okay, Zelfa, before we let you go, it's prediction time. I know you're going to be riding with your guy. Oh, no, you can't be on the fence. We had Sonny on the fence, so you got a one-up Sonny. Sonny's never usually on the fence. Now he's a Matchroom spokesperson. He's on the fence. Who wins tomorrow night, Zelfa?
I'm on the fence.
Get out of here.
Ah, God damn.
Zelfa Barrett, always a
Nice
pleasure.
one,
Thanks
man.
very much for
Thank
stopping
you.
by. Look
Thank
forward
you.
to seeing you back in the ring very, very soon. That is Zelfa Barrett. Will Zelfa be in Monaco for the Cordina fight? Says Jack T. Davis. I don't know, mate. I didn't ask him. I should have. Just having a look around at who could potentially join us on the live stream. Dalton Smith. Dalton Smith knocking about in the background. We're going to try and get him to join us here on 101 Box. It's very hot, and I'm very out of shape, so it's even hotter for somebody like me. Best of luck in December, Sonny. He goes, sorry, Jack, I didn't get these as we were doing them. We're just waiting for Dalton Smith to join us. Hopefully he does join us in the background. He's going to come in just 1 minute, I think. So we're just waiting here. This is what happens now after we finish at the weigh-ins. It can get a bit a bit boring, to be honest with you, but we're going to do our best, as we always do on One-on-One Boxing, to bring you some of the big names in this room as we preview Lee Wood versus Josh Warrington tomorrow night. Dalton Smith taking time out to speak to the fans at the minute before he comes over to join us here on One-on-One Boxing. Are you all right? Yeah, all good. We're in everybody's way. We always bloody are a One-on-One Boxing. We just kind of pitch up and rock up and then do whatever we can whenever we can. Waiting on a few of the relevant parties to come and join us as we go live here from the weigh-in. As you can see, big queue of people for Eddie Hearn. I'm sure we'll get Eddie to pop in and give us his pre-fight prediction. He's done with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 interviewers that are queued up to speak to him. Hopi Price just down there, looks as though he is looks like he's pretty healthy, to be fair, young Hopi. As Lee Wood, oh no, Danny Gill walks past, not Lee Wood, very confusing, very similar hairstyle. Here comes Dalton Smith, the British super lightweight champion. Warmed up the microphone for him. Here he is.
Mic check 1, 2.
Mic check 1, 2. Dalton Smith, if you just take a stand next to me. How are you, Dalton? Nice to see you. So we're here.
Invisible call. It's delayed, isn't it? That?
Yeah, it's on a delay, but we're all good. How are you?
I'm all good. Good as ever.
Good. Nice to see you. What have you been up to? I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks.
Do you know, I've been in the gym training hard.
Just having a look at the cuts.
They're coming at the healing nicely. I've just, to be honest, I'll be able to fight next week if I had the opportunity to. So, I've been in the gym. I've been training solid for the last 6-7 weeks. Just been out in Tenerife and just keeping busy, working on new areas where I wouldn't be able to out from if I was in camp. So, just trying to improve on different areas.
Now, obviously, waiting for news of your return to the ring. When do you think it could potentially be? Do you think we get to see you at the back end of this year, or is it going to be next year now for you?
I think more realistically, it's going to be looking like more after Christmas now.
Okay, well, we look forward to seeing Dalton Smith back in the ring, and we are also looking forward to Wood Warrington tomorrow night here in Dalton Smith country of Sheffield. How do you see the fight going, Dalton? I'm excited for it. I think this is a 50-50 fight. I think a lot of people are writing Josh Warrington off. How do you feel about the fight?
I'm the same there, and obviously I know both lads, both great lads outside the ring, but as a fight fan looking at this, it doesn't get any better. You've got two hungry young guys. They've got both world champion, being a world champion. And it's a recipe for a great fight. You see the fans, the following they've got behind them, and they're doing it on neutral ground in my hometown, and I'm excited to see it. But like you say, it's a 50-50 fight, and I can't pick a winner in it. It'd be hard for me to pick a winner, but I honestly do think it's a 50-50 fight. But I think it's on the night who's got what left in the tank.
Just speaking for each individual fighter, what does Josh Warrington need to do in this fight? What does Lee Wood need to do in this fight?
They both need to get the win. That's the main thing. But for me, Josh has got the work rate. But I think Lee Wood's got the slower pace. The slower feet, and maybe Warrington's going to use his strengths with the pressure, putting him on the back foot, and he's going to try and keep pushing the pressure till the later rounds. But then again, is Lee Wood going to control the pace with your boxing? You don't know how each fight is going to adapt. So I think they'll both be cagey after the first couple of rounds, but I think it'll warm up into a very good fight in the second half.
A lot of people are talking about the activity. We've not seen Josh Warrington box since last December. Lee Wood has boxed twice this year, both against Mauricio Lara. Of course, lost the first one before coming back and boxing a very disciplined performance second time around. How important do you think the activity could be in this fight? The fact that we haven't seen Josh for nearly a year and we've seen Lee twice already this year.
I mean, being active is, it's a crucial part. But, you can't take it away, because at the end of the day, they both got the experience. They both know what they need to do. It's not like they're coming in and it's a whole new occasion for them. They've never been in the atmosphere, or they never had the pressure on the back before. They've both been there. So, I don't really think that's going to affect Josh too long. And to be honest, was it 8 months ago his last fight?
About 10.
About 10. Technically that's not a very, very long time. So, as long as he's been in the gym, it shouldn't affect him too much. But, it's like I say, it's going to be a great fight.
And elsewhere on the undercard, we of course have a couple of your gym mates. Let's start off with Junaid Bostan, who somebody must have him gagged in a corridor somewhere because I can't hear him. You can usually hear him before you can see him. Junaid Bostan, all good, mate. No worries. We're not a professional outfit here. You can just keep walking. Junaid Bostan, after going the distance in his last fight and, a good, hard, competitive bout, goes back in there this weekend and be looking, as we know him, getting back on that KO train. I'm sure he'd have liked going the distance because he knows he can do the rounds, but Junaid's all about the knockout, isn't he?
Junaid is a character, and he's got everything about him, and he's one of the biggest talents I've been around. Of course, it's nice getting the knockouts, but you learn a lot more getting the rounds and the experience. And he's in with a bit of a step up tomorrow night, and I've seen him in camps, probably the best camp he's ever had. He's very switched on, and I can see him shining tomorrow night and making a big statement.
And then, of course, Nico Livars as well, another gym mate of yours, very talented young fighter. Obviously, Steel City Gym at the minute, it's flying. You've got yourself, got Sonny Edwards, Lauren Richards, and, of course, these two young'uns on the card tomorrow night. But what can you tell us about Nico Livars?
Nico is like one of, the best-kept secrets. I've known Nico for a long time, and, I've seen him develop, and, he's turned into a great fighter. He's been a bit unlucky, the start of his professional career, with injuries and pullouts and stuff, but he's finally getting that momentum now. I'm expecting a big performance from him tomorrow. And like I said, the gym's flying. The proof's in the pudding. We're all thriving off each other's success, and we're pushing each other on also. So, the gym's flying, and we just need to keep those wins coming.
Okay, well, Dalton Smith, I'm going to ask you something now. Now, everybody is sat on the fence here, but I know that you won't do that to us on one-on-one boxing. So I want to know who wins tomorrow night. Lee Wood or Josh Warrington? Talk to me, Dalt. No fence sitting.
Do you know what? It's hard. It's hard. It really is hard, and I generally cannot pick a winner. But if you've got to put it on the spot for me, I could possibly see a Lee Wood late stoppage.
Okay, there we go. Well, Dalton Smith, the first man who's put his prediction out there. No, nothing from Sonny, nothing from Zelfa Barrett, but Dalton Smith. His very tentative prediction, but I think we're both in agreement that we expect a very, very good fight tomorrow night. Dalton Smith, always a pleasure. Thanks very good. Thanks very much for stopping by. I'll grab that and we'll catch up with you soon. Thanks very much. There to Dalton Smith, of course, the unbeaten British and Commonwealth super lightweight champion will be in attendance tomorrow night. He's excited about Wood Warrington, as am I. Just trying to make sure that I'm in the right way. We're going to go this way, Ben. I'm going to go that way. I'm showing my elusiveness here on one-on-one boxing as we have a look around and see who else we can grab. Got Billy Joe Saunders knocking about in the background. I will try and grab Billy, but Billy Joe Saunders and live streams is a bit, but we'll see. We'll see. Been a while since I've spoken to Billy Joe, actually. Certainly on camera. Saw him in the gym a while ago. He looks like he's dropped a bit of weight. Of course, rumours now picking up speed about his return to the ring at some point in 2023. Happy Pow, I'm just trying to get down here and take some of these questions. Happy Pow, how do you think Wood look? Robbie looked like a 35-year-old who's making weight, I think there is a tendency to overanalyze kind of, like we know that fighters, there are, certainly exceptions to the rule, but every fighter is supposed to kind of struggle to make the weight. Whether or not that's kind of considered taboo nowadays, it just is what it is, as the kids say. Just having a look around here to see who else we could potentially grab. We've had Sonny Edwards, we've had Dalton Smith, we've had Zelfa Barrett. Who's who of domestic fighters. Just having a little look around, wondering if we can grab a word with the new man of the moment on Matchroom Boxing, Jamie Ward, doing everything now, doing interviews, doing in the ring, outside the ring, running the show. Get those questions in. Don't forget to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe to One-on-One Boxing for more coverage of Wood Warrington tomorrow night in Sheffield. Get your comments in, get your predictions in. Is it going to be Lee Wood? Is it going to be Josh Warrington? We only have about 30 hours till we find out who emerges victorious tomorrow night. It's cleared out fairly quickly here today. It was a good noise, good atmosphere. Sorry, just getting an email. I needed to have a look at. We're always on the move here on One-on-One Boxing. Always things happening, always connections being made. As is a LinkedIn email, but anyway. Okay, just having a look around. I will try and grab Billy Joe Saunders for the one-on-one army. Whether or not we can grab him, and whether or not he's particularly suitable for live, we'll find out. Jack T. Davis, where does Warrington go if he wins? I think if Josh Warrington wins, the thing that Josh Warrington wants above all else is that American away day. that big Vegas trip. And I think Josh Warrington is one of very, very few fighters that we have in the UK who could bring a small army over there. Is he going to bring 20,000 or 10,000? Well, it goes up every time when you're talking about Ricky Hatton. Probably not, but he could bring 3,000, 5,000. The Leeds army taking over Las Vegas, I'm sure that would be a sight on the strip. So I think that's what he's going to want to do. I think he's going to want to go over there and box an American name, a Leo Santa Cruz or somebody of that ilk. I think could potentially sell. I saw Leo Santa Cruz out in Las Vegas last week at the Canelo Charlo fight. He's talking about coming back next year. That's a name that has some brand value for a UK audience, and it's probably one of the few names as well that can sell a ticket in Las Vegas. So yeah, I think Josh Warrington really wants that American away day. I think he wants to box in Las Vegas, take an army of the Leeds faithful over there with him. I'm not entirely sure that this is particularly the fight that Josh Warrington would have wanted this time around, with all due respect. I certainly don't want to speak on behalf of Warrington, but we've seen in the past those big domestic showdowns with Lee Selby, with Carl Frampton, of course. How much more does he gain from this? Of course, gets the opportunity to become a 3-time featherweight world champion. But I think he really wants that US away day. But be interested to see. He has to obviously get past Lee Wood tomorrow night. Lee Wood, the betting favourite for this fight. So Josh Warrington will have to do what he's done in the past, which is overcome the odds and upset the apple cart as the underdog against a domestic opponent. But we've seen him do it in the past. As Sonny Edwards said, you can't bet against Josh Warrington, particularly when you have him in there with another Brit. We've seen it in the past. We've seen him overcome the odds and upset the apple cart against Lee Selby, against Carl Frampton. I picked both Lee Selby and Carl Frampton. Shows what we know here on One-on-One Boxing. There we go. Just going to get over. Don't forget to hit the like button and get your questions in on One-on-One. It looks as though we're potentially wrapping up purely because everybody's waiting for Eddie. And there's not really an awful lot of other people that we can speak to. We're going to try and pull Billy Joe Saunders in when he's finished with that chap over there. Whether or not we get him, whether or not we get a sensible version of him, I think they're two question marks over both of those. But it'd be nice to catch up with Billy Joe Saunders. There we go. Here we go. Just having a look around at who else is available for us to grab. Even the journos have cleared out. Wally Downs from the Sun was here. I think Frank Smith chased him off. Frank Smith stuck it on him. Still waiting for potential guests. All right, Killer. All right. Waiting to see if we can grab any other people to hear from. You don't want to hear just from me ahead of such a big fight. You want to hear some more informed opinions. But anyway, ask Sonny. I'm not going to ask him that. But anyway, is Jordan Gill there for a chat? Apologies if you've had him on already. Asked UK Rob Buxton. He was here, Jordan Gill, but I'm not sure where he's gone. Of course, he is part of that training team with Hopi Price and Dave Coldwell. Hopi Price, very, very short while ago, left us. So I'm sure that Jordan Gill is wherever Hopi Price is and Dave Coldwell is. But yes, the rumours about Jordan Gill boxing Michael Conlan. How do we see that fight going? Of course, yet to be finally announced, but strong rumours about Michael Conlan and Jordan Gill. Obviously, I haven't seen Jordan Gill in the ring since that stoppage loss to Kiko Martinez for the European title. Conlan versus Gill in December, says Happy Power. Yep, it seems as though that is the case, yes. Michael Conlan versus Jordan Gill. I think it's a hard fight for Jordan Gill at this stage of his career. I do. Conlan not known as a big puncher, as a heavy puncher, but he's a sharp puncher, can walk you into good counter shots. Jordan Gill at this stage of his career, how much does he have left after that loss to Kiko Martinez? It looks as though we might find out in December when he squares off against Michael Conlan in Belfast. Been a while since I've been over to Belfast for a fight. That might be one for me to make an appearance at, but we'll wait and see what comes up. Billy Joe looks as though he's finished with an interview now. Whether or not we're going to be able to... That's okay. We're not going to go running across the room for Billy Joe Saunders because you never know what you're going to get from Billy Joe Saunders. Life is like a box of chocolates, and that also applies to BJS. Ross Garrity of Matchroom Boxing joining us live on the stream. That's all right, mate. No worries. So waiting. Might grab a word with Mr. Saunders. get those questions in while we're waiting. God, it'll be nice to see one of the best technical boxers and counterpunchers of the modern day face Michael Conlan. Very good, Jack T. Davis. Very good. It's a good fight. Technically a good fight. Jordan Gill is a good technical fighter. It's just at this stage of his career, after that knockout loss to Kiko Martinez, and of course he had the bout beforehand against Karim Gurfi where he looked vulnerable in that fight, took a lot of shots, took a DDT for the WWE fans out there. Remember that one? And it's a difficult fight to come back from at that stage of your career. And then obviously had the stoppage loss to Kiko Martinez. I think that fight very much is Michael Conlan's to lose, but a good option for Jordan Gill at this stage of his career. Andi Purewal just finishing off now with his interview with Eddie Hearn. Whether I think he's going to go and try and get Billy Joe Saunders. This might be a funny one to film, but I'm not sure. Billy Joe, I think, is just running off to the toilet. We've heard that before, though. We've heard that before. He's going to the toilet. Billy Joe Saunders is going to be climbing out of a window rather than coming back here and doing any media. Always good to see him. He's one of the big characters in British boxing over the last few years. We need big names. We need big name fighters. We've not seen Billy Joe Saunders since that loss to Canelo Alvarez, which feels like an absolute eternity ago. Looks as though he's going to be coming back at light heavyweight before challenging for honours again at super middleweight. Billy Joe Saunders versus John Ryder 2. Anyone interested in that? Let us know who you'd like to see Billy Joe Saunders back in the ring with next. Jack T. Davis says thoughts on the Joe Smith Jr. fight. It's a good fight, That's a good fight. It's a bit of a weird fight, isn't it? 190 pounds, Sergio Ramirez, I think, having all kinds of difficulty making 175. Joe Smith, what's he got left? Obviously, was the very kind of a very risky game plan against Artur Beterbiev the last time he boxed. I think it was the last time he boxed. He may have come back since then, and was taken apart in 2 rounds. Sergio Ramirez, of course, was very, very flat against Dimitri Bivol. Weight-wise, where is he? Is he going to be able to make 190? He's a big old boy, Sergio Ramirez. It wasn't that long ago that he was making 168 pounds, which seems incredible when you consider the size of him. He boxed Dominic Bosel, as we know, in kind of the European circuit, a very capable European level-ish fighter, Dominic Bosel. I think Sergio Ramirez made 175 and then weighed in at 204 pounds on the night. So it was a heavyweight when he walked into the ring. So I think when you've got these crazy jumps in weight, I know Joe Smith is a light heavyweight moving up as well, but where's Zerdo at? Like, what does he have? It's an interesting one. Good fight, though. They're both, game, throw a lot of shots. Joe Smith, I think, is the bigger one-punch hitter out of those two. Zerdo Ramirez is a very busy southpaw. So, yeah, it's a good fight. Who do you think's going to win? Jack T. Davies, let me know. Let me know who you think's going to win. Just going through here. What's the score with Smith versus Beterbiev now? Any day or Beterbiev still recovering? Jack T. Davis. Jack T. Davis firing the questions into the chat. Big him up. Jack T. Davis, you are the VIP of the current live stream here on 101 Boxing. To answer your question, I forgot what you said. Beterbiev Smith. Yes. No, definitely. January, I believe, is when it's been rescheduled to. Beterbiev, I think he had like a jaw injury or something. He had like an infection in the jaw or in the tooth or something like that. Callum Smith now, unfortunately, having to wait for his shot at Beterbiev. But look, it's another 6 months or so where Beterbiev gets a little bit older and a little bit further away from his peak. Could be the opportunity that Callum Smith needs to become a 2-weight world champion, and what a win it would be if he's able to go over to Canada and upset the great Artur Beterbiev, of course, the only world champion in professional boxing with a 100% knockout ratio. But a lot of people who I speak to in the industry are picking Callum Smith. They think it's maybe the right time now. They maybe saw some things from Artur Beterbiev against Anthony Yard that gives them a bit of confidence in Callum Smith moving forward. I was about to jump on Johnathon Banks, but I think Scott Hamilton, the one and only from Matchroom, is about to do some bits with him. So I'm not going to dive in just yet. I'm going to try and grab Scott. Can I grab him? Yeah. We've just got Jonathan. Am I all right to grab you for 5 minutes, please, sir? Sure. We've got Johnathon Banks, one of the world's finest trainers, joining us here on 101 Boxing. Jonathan, you are here, of course, with the First Lady herself, Cecilia Breakhouse, as she challenges Terry Harper. In confident mood ahead of tomorrow night?
I am. I'm very confident because we had a really good training camp. Really worked really hard. Really pushed her. this fight is gonna go down. It's gonna be broken down to the public with age and youth. But for me, it's gonna be broken down with experience. And I believe in this particular fight, Cecilia's experience will make the biggest difference.
Now, Cecilia, of course, was a long reigning welterweight champion, but she's up at 154 here, but she's still the naturally bigger woman. You've got Terry Harper, who was, of course, a world champion at 130 pounds. Do you feel that way? Do you feel that you've got the bigger fighter as well as the more experienced fighter?
I actually don't. I feel I have the more experienced fighter. Terry Harper, for some reason, seems a little bit bigger, but to me, Cecilia, I will always look at her as a welterweight because that's just always to look at her as a welterweight. But at the same time, she's stepping up in weight, but she's not a bigger person. Terry Harper stepped up in weight, and you can see she's bigger than the 35 and the 47, something like that. But I think it's going to make a good fight. I think the experience is going to be the biggest difference in the fight. I don't think the size has nothing to do with it, because when guys fight and they move up in weight, a lot of times that size, everyone asks, can that power from 47 transfer to 54? Sometimes it do, usually it don't. But with females, with most of them not being the hardest punchers anyway, that's why it's more of a skill set. You have to rely on your skills, because just because you grow up in weight don't mean you're going to be punching harder. So that's how I see it.
Just on Terry Harper, what are you expecting from her tomorrow night? Obviously, without giving away the tactical game plan and what have you, what are you expecting from Terry Harper tomorrow night?
I'm expecting from Terry Harper is an all-out warfare. Like, make no mistake about it, she's a good fighter. So we wouldn't be this deep in training and training hard if she wasn't a good fighter. So definitely have the utmost respect for her, but I expect all-out warfare. Terry Harper, she's more comfortable now. I'd rather have fought her in Ireland than England, because she's so much comfortable in England. She got a bigger, she's a hometown girl almost. This is like a hometown fight for her almost. So that's going to make her fight harder. So I'm expecting an all-out warfare from Terry Harper.
And of course, there are fewer people more informed on the heavyweights than you in boxing. We have had the announcement of a fight signed. Okay, we don't have a date, we don't have a venue, but let's ignore all of that boring stuff for the sake of things. Let's dream, Johnathon. Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. It seems as though that fight's signed. It seems as though we could see that fight, if not by the end of the year, and certainly earlier on next year. How do you see that fight playing out? Of course, Tyson Fury is somebody who you're familiar with yourself.
I'm very familiar with Usyk too. I remember Usyk from the amateurs, because keep in mind that I was with Vladimir a lot, and they signed Usyk right out of the Olympics. And I spent a lot of time in Ukraine at the Olympic Training Center.
Is that the one in Kiev? It's in the middle of nowhere, isn't it?
The one in Kiev. But it's a beautiful place, and it's a beautiful training center. So I spent a lot of time around Usyk. I think that's going to be one of the biggest uphill battles for Usyk. Because Tyson Fury, the difference with Tyson and a lot of other heavyweights is his movement. He don't move better than Usyk, but he can move just as good as Usyk. And that's the problem. If movement was the advantage for Usyk and Tyson can move just as good, what's the advantage? Because Tyson got he got reach, he got size, everything. He got everything for an advantage. So that's going to be a very hard uphill battle for Usyk.
You mentioned there about the movement of Tyson Fury. He is, of course, now training with Sugar Hill, Kronk Desai, such as yourself. We've seen more of the kind of the destroyer from Tyson in recent years, as opposed to that fleet-footed Tyson Fury who went and outboxed Vladimir in Germany all of those years ago. Do you expect to see Fury kind of continue that trait, look to impose his physicality and knock Usyk out, stick it on him? Or do you think we'll see more of the old Fury up on his toes and boxing at range?
I honestly believe that if he took it to Deontay Wilder, which is one of the hardest punches in the history of the division, then he'll take it to anybody. I don't see nobody escaping without him putting pressure on them and coming towards them. Because the hardest thing for him to do was to go after Wilder. With all the repercussions that he was going to get from it, to come after somebody that could punch like that, If he could do it with Wilder, he looking at everybody else and saying, I could do it with anybody. And I'm sure he'll be able to, because he's one of the biggest heavyweights that we have.
If I had to push you for a prediction in that fight, where would you? Not your money, my money. I give you $1 of my money. Where are you going to put it?
I'll probably put it in my pocket, but you have to give Tyson Fury the edge because of his size alone. Now let's take away, if you take away his size, look at his pedigree, look at his resume. If you only go with the resume, Tyson, you have to give the edge to Tyson. And I like Usyk, I really do, but we're not talking who you like here. We're talking about the facts of boxing. If you only look at each guy's resume, Fury got the better resume as far as which heavyweights he beat. And if you only if you go off the record, they're both undefeated. But if you go off the size advantage and also the skill set, Usyk have the skill set, beautiful skills. Never will say anything different. But if you got a bigger man with almost just as good skills that you have, that's the problem.
It certainly is. And before I let you go, we'll leave the final word with you about your charge, Cecilia Breakhouse, tomorrow night against Terry Harper. What are we going to see, Jonathan? How does it end?
You know what? We got two foes here. Okay. How I want it to end, I want her to start off taking control and boxing them. That's what I want. And mid-fight, we could say by the 5th or 6th round, she's starting to put pressure on her. By the 9th round, I want to be taking her gloves off of her and telling her congratulations.
There we go.
Congratulations on the good stoppage.
Kronk style, baby. Always looking for the stoppage, right?
Always.
Jonathan Banks, thanks very much for joining us. All the best tomorrow night, and we hope to catch up with you soon. I'll just take that off you. Thanks very much, Jonathan. There we have it. Jonathan Banks, one of the best trainers in world boxing there, joining us here on One-on-One. Seems as though things are just starting to wind down a little bit in Sheffield. We're still waiting for Billy Joe Saunders to come back from the toilet. Who'd have thought? But things are just starting to wind down a little bit. Just wondering if we can grab any of the journos, any of the online folk fancy jumping on a little bit. We've got Andi Purewal in the yonder. I might go and grab him. I'm gonna grab Andy, who's doing work. We'll let him off for 5 minutes. We'll let him off for 5 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, just to come and join us on One-on-One. Make sure you hit that like button. If you've got any questions for Andi Purewal, Andi the Punisher Purewal, let us know. We're going to get him on the live stream just for 5 minutes. Just do a bit of waffling, a bit of waffle here on One-on-One Boxing. We love a bit of waffle. Here he comes, slowly but surely, but he's going to come and join us on One-on-One Boxing, the one and only Andi Purewal. He will take your girl. Hello, man. How are you?
I'm very well, very well. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Very well. But I've come up to soak in the atmosphere. I was just saying to people on the stream that it seemed like quite pro leads here today for Josh Warrington, which I don't know whether or not I expected or not. Obviously, Lee Wood, the defending champion, but we are in a kind of enemy turf for him in Yorkshire. Would you agree with that?
No, 100%. But I think at the same time, I think the atmosphere tomorrow night will just be electric. I think by all accounts, Lee's going to have a strong army of fans travelling, as Josh always does anyway. But yeah, I was enjoying that atmosphere. I'm very, very much so looking forward to tomorrow night.
We have to get Andy a personalised hard hat so it doesn't mess up his hair on tomorrow night.
Nothing messes this up. I wake up like this.
A lot of talk around this fight going into it is about kind of the inactivity of Josh. We haven't seen him since last December against Luis Alberto Lopez, but it seems as though that's a loss to Luis Alberto Lopez that has got better with time. We saw what Luis Alberto Lopez did to Michael Collin and then Joet Gonzalez. So for me, I think this is a 50-50 fight.
No, 100%. I was very surprised by that odds, and the bookies having Josh at a 1-3 underdog with some markets. It's a surprise to me. I think looking at them on the scales as well, for Lee, he looked very drained, and I was looking into his eyes looked very gaunt. Hearing a couple of things of kind of how difficult it's been for him to get down to 126 again, and with Josh's relentless style, I think. Lee's a fantastic guy and always hate saying negative things about any fighter, but the Lara fight was kind of tailor-made for him in the rematch. Lara's not got fantastic footwork. He's quite slow to cut off the ring. So Lee just boxed him the way that he did got the result. Fantastic performance, nevertheless. But with Josh, relentless style, coming forwards, aggressive, those later rounds, if it has been difficult for Lee to cut the weight, I think that could be a telling factor if Josh can take over specifically later. But he has to start fast to put it on him early.
You mentioned there about starting fast and putting it on him early. By his own admission, didn't quite do that against Luis Alberto Lopez. Was the first fight in the back of that broken jaw against Kiko Martinez. Was a little bit wary early on. He can't afford to do that tomorrow night and let Lee Wood bank those early rounds, can he?
No, 100%. He has to kind of stamp his foot on the fight. And really, if Josh is to be successful, he has to be that dirty fighter, which he hates being labelled as, or a rough fighter, as more people kind of refer to him as. If he can sit on Lee's chest early, maybe nick a couple of those early rounds, then as the fight prolongs, it suits Josh more than what he does for Lee.
And we just saw you in the background speaking to Mr. Eddie Hearn. What did Eddie have to say for himself? I think we're probably going to try and grab. We're going to wait till last and grab him for 2 minutes because he'll hate that. What did he have to say for himself?
We're still confident that they can get the Conor Benn and Eubank fight on the 23rd. Even if Fury Usyk was to go ahead, I believe that the plan's going to be to try and get that fight done by the end of next week. Obviously, still speaking with the board and UCAD. They said they've had their discussions. It's up to them now as to whether or not they give Conor his boxing board license back. If not, they've got 2 sites away from the UK that they're exploring, one of them being Abu Dhabi again.
Fancy that? 23rd, mate?
As long as I can get back for Christmas, I don't fancy being stranded over there. We've had our troubles with flights back from Vegas on the Spence Crawford fight week, so I wouldn't fancy spending Christmas on my own up there, but why not?
Andy will go wherever he's told.
Well, I mean, you say this, but then I don't think Eddie was impressed by us, me not being at KSI Fury next week.
KSI Tommy Fury. Well, it's nothing to do with him. It doesn't promote either guy, Eddie. Come on, you got to stop thinking that every fight on DAZN is anything to do with you. But anyway, before we let you go, final prediction time, Mr. AP. Tomorrow night, how does it go down? Lee Wood versus Josh Warrington for the WBA featherweight title.
Heading into the week, I thought Lee points on the back of a few things I've seen this week and a few things I've heard. I think Josh points, arguably late stoppage.
There we go. The man on the ground. Don't listen to me. He's been here all week. He's been soaking up all the atmosphere. I'm just a couch potato casual. Andi Purewal, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for joining us. Go and do some work. There he goes. He's off. And we are winding down here in sunny Sheffield. There we go. Andi Purewal there picking Josh Warrington. It's always one of the things where at the start of fight week, you have your kind of preconceived notions of how you think the fight will go. And then these little things start creeping in your head. I'm a firm advocate of make your pick and don't change it. But things do often come up in fight week that do make you reconsider things a little bit. Lee Wood, as I mentioned earlier on in the stream, making the weight for the 3rd time since March, I believe it was. At 35 years of age, is the body supposed to go like that often? I guess we'll see tomorrow night. But Lee Wood, a very diligent professional. That's one thing that must be stressed. He certainly won't be struggling to make the weight due to any kind of lack of effort, lack of professionalism, anything like that. He does everything to a T out of that gym in Harlow with the likes of Ben Davison, Barry Smith, and Lee Wiley. A consummate professional, Lee Wood. You have to say that. I mean, particularly when you consider his rapid ascent over recent times. Still hanging around here in the hope of grabbing Eddie Hearn, as if he's got a problem with us not sending to KSI versus. But KSI versus, we are sending to KSI versus. He's just not going. See, Andy also thinks that if he's not going, we're not covering it. But yeah, we do have people there. Shout out Charlie Woolard and shout out Danny G, Daniel Gregg, soon to be the greatest videographer in boxing. So we do have people there. Andy just, it's a conversation for another day. But I'm glad Eddie will be happy with us for sending people there. But winding down a little bit here as we see Dalton Smith moving away. Tom, do you have 5 minutes, good sir? We're going to grab Tom Loeffler, the one and only, from K2 Promotions, of course, here with the First Lady herself, Cecilia Breakhouse. Tom, always a pleasure. How are you?
Good. Great to be here. It's nice to be here in Sheffield. Last time I was here was with Kevin Kelly when we were chasing Nazim Hamed.
God, so that would have been 96?
In the mid-90s, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Wow. God, Sheffield is pretty much exactly the same now as it was in the mid-90s anyway, so you haven't missed much.
It's not bad. It's everything is pretty centrally located where we're staying at and the cutlery here. So we're happy to be back here now with Cecilia Breakhouse fighting for a unified title against Terry Harper. I think that's going to be a great fight on a tremendous show.
I just had Johnathon Banks, of course, trainer of Cecilia, over here. Very confident, in very confident mood. Thinks the experience of Cecilia will be ultimately too much for Terry Harper tomorrow night. Do you agree with that?
I agree with JB. Cecilia's been through a lot. She's fought every different style. There's no question she's older, but she's much more experienced. And the way she's looking in training right now, the fire is still there, and she looks in tremendous shape.
Terry Harper, of course, made that sort of crazy jump from 130 pounds up to 154 pounds, which we've seen the likes of Natasha Jonas do among recent times. I kind of put this to Johnathon about Cecilia, admittedly, long time welterweight moving up to 54, but is she the naturally bigger fighter in this fight, do you think? I mean, it seems like Terry Harper's managed to fill out quite well into 154 pounds, but that jump from 30 to 54 is still a sizable one.
It's a huge jump. I'm surprised that she was able to make 130. I know Cecilia, there's no way she would be able to make 130. And yet Terry Harper seems like physically about the same size as Cecilia. So it'll be an interesting fight. I think Cecilia is the naturally stronger athlete, but it's a great matchup.
What does Cecilia have to be wary of tomorrow night?
I think she's got to start fast and strong and just assert herself. Remind people that she's the first lady of boxing. Remind people that she was a long-time reigning undisputed welterweight champion, and now she moved up to 154. And if she can win these two titles tomorrow night, she'll be back on the top of the sport of boxing.
Before I let you go, Tom, final word on the main event. Josh Warrington seeks to become a 3-time featherweight champion of the world against already 2-time world champion Lee Wood. We love a bit of a domestic dust-up here over on these shores. We've got Nottingham versus Leeds. How do you see the fight ending up tomorrow night?
I'm not that familiar. I know the both guys for sure. I'm not familiar with their styles, but based on the crowd reaction, it's going to be a great atmosphere tomorrow night in the arena. And both guys have great fan bases, and from what I've seen, it's going to be a great matchup as well.
Yeah, we always do things quite well here, particularly when it comes down to those domestic fights. So we'll hopefully get you back over sometime soon. I saw you a few years back when you came over in Scotland with Ryan Martin when he boxed Josh Taylor.
Right.
So I think
Ryan
that was
Martin,
the last time I saw you on these
when Vladimir
shores.
fought AJ at Wembley Stadium. So yeah, been over here a number of times, and I saw Kell Brook walking around on Thursday, here in Sheffield. So that was a great fight at the sold out O2 Arena.
Yeah, Kelbrook. We're very much in Kelbrook country. We're in Sheffield, the Steel
Absolutely.
City.
Yeah.
You mentioned there about Vladimir Klitschko. I'll ask you, as I did with JB, of course, very knowledgeable, astute man in the heavyweight division, as you are. Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. Okay, signed. We ignore the fact we don't have a date or a location. We'll just dream for a minute, Tom.
Ignore the fact that Tyson's fighting someone else.
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. That's details. We're not here about details. We're painting in broad brushstrokes. Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. How does that one go?
I rate Usyk extremely high. He won the gold medal here in London, so all the UK fans are familiar with him. Beating AJ twice. He undisputed cruiserweight champion, moved up, beat a huge heavyweight in the prime of his career. I think that's a massive statement. So I really rate Usyk at the top of the class when there's pound for pound discussions. So I rate Tyson Fury very high also, what he did to Wilder. I just think Usyk has a style that people can't figure out. Fury's style is very difficult too, so I'm not taking anything away from him, but I like Usyk in a very high level boxing match.
Okay, well, we look forward to, hopefully we see it sometime soon, but as we know, Tom, boxing has a funny way of giving you the carrot and then giving you the stick straight after. Thanks very much for joining us here. All the best for Cecilia Breakers tomorrow night. The one and only Tom Loeffler, thanks very much for joining us. We'll catch up with you soon. So there we go. Bringing the big hitters, bringing the big names to you. Only on One Boxing. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more boxing bits and pieces. Just having a look around. Hearn still yakking, still talking. We only want 2 minutes of his time. But we're going to keep going. Do we have any questions? Do we have anything? Tom, a real G says, AKA Skins. AKA Skins also says, Wood looking weight drain. Yeah, I think they're both 35. Well, no, they're both not 35. Lee Wood's 35. Josh Warrington, 33. So it is, they are at the stage of their career where they're not going to look $1 million on the scales. AKA Skins, why is this not on the Boxing News channel? Because AKA Skins, this is one-on-one boxing. This is not Boxing News. We're all part of the same family. But on the Friday weigh-ins, we like to weigh in Not my choice of terminology, because if I weighed in, it would be a mess. But we like to weigh in on the Fridays on 101 Boxing, and all of your other boxing content you can get on Boxing News and Boxing News Plus. But this is going out on the Boxing News and Boxing News Plus social channels. Big up Boxing News, and of course, big up 101 Boxing every time. Jack T. Davis says, you sponsoring the ring this weekend? No, we're not. 101 Boxing, we sponsor boxer cards on Sky Sports. I believe the next one that we will be doing is Joshua Buatsi versus Dan Aziz. 101 Boxing will be there representing on the ring apron. I actually have the Smith Eubank 2 ring apron in our office, just chilling, just sitting there. I think we're gonna relay the floor with it in the office, so we have like a little ring apron, a little canvas thing going on here. Let's try and get through some of these bits and pieces. UK Rob Boxing, Andy, when will you let me win one of your giveaways? Rob, like, I got you. Don't, like, Andy, just don't worry about him. I'll hook you up, Rob Boxing. Jack T. Davis, what's Andy heard? I don't think Andy's heard anything. I think it just makes him sound like he's in the know. To be fair, we went and saw Lee Wood in the gym a few weeks ago, the In Camp With, live now on 101 Boxing. Check it out. He kind of goes into all of the, not the gory details, but speaks very openly and honestly about being 35 years of age, been making featherweight, and of course, super bantamweight before then for a long, long time. You know, it catches up with everybody. I'm 33. I couldn't make featherweight. But anyway, yeah, I think Lee, in his last couple of fights, has looked drained on the scales. He looked drained on the scales before he boxed Mauricio Lara in the rematch, and then really dominated that fight. Kept Lara at the end of the jab and thoroughly outboxed him for 12 rounds. He'll be planning on doing the same this weekend, I'm sure, against Josh Warrington. But look, nowadays it is a very, very fine art, science behind making weight. And Lee Wood, I'm sure, with the help of Ben Davison and co, will be in good condition tomorrow night. He said yesterday, look, you know, no excuses. I want Josh Warrington to know that if he beats me on Saturday night, he beats the best version of myself. So Lee Wood certainly not making any excuses, certainly not putting himself in that position whereby we can turn around and say, yeah, but he did it. So no excuses from Lee Wood. So he's not going to get any from me. Mario Balotelli, are you covering the BT Sports Show this weekend? No, I am in Sheffield now, but I'll be coming back tonight and I will miss it. So I'll be watching it and covering it from home. Yeah, so no, I'm not. I don't really cover that many shows nowadays. As people who are familiar with 101 and Boxing News will attest to, I'm a bit of a couch potato now. I like to sit home with a big giant pizza and stuff my fat face, which is why it's so ironic that I do a live show from a weigh-in. But anyway, Jack T. Davis, who is the MVP of the stream here, says, also 12 Rounds With is a really good series. Nice to see different kinds of stuff. Thank you very much. We've got plenty more of the 12 Rounds With coming to you. We've got a few more fighters coming into ID Towers on Tuesday, I think it is, next week, where we're going to be filming the latest installment of that series, 12 Rounds With. If you haven't seen it, check it out now on 101 Boxing or across Boxing News and Boxing News Plus social channels, where we ask kind of random questions, really. One of them is, what's your hidden talent? One of them is, if you were, who would you not like to be locked in a lift with? All of that good stuff, you know. It's a bit more interested in, how was camp? Are you going to win? Like, mate. But anyway, moving on. We're cooking. So just trying to get through the last few stages of the chat here. Just winding down. I might try and get Jamie Ward, which would be funny because he's just everywhere now. I think Eddie is just finalising. Hello. We've got Mark Robinson, aka Barley, the man, the myth, the legend, the matchroom photographer extraordinaire. We've got Alex Olds. Big up Alex Olds. He's got a big round table for us at Piccolino's when you guys are done. Alex, I'm hoping against hope that you're listening and you're watching and you're liking and commenting and subscribing to 101 Boxing right now, rather than sitting there in Piccolino's getting food without me, because we all know how much I love food. Yeah. So I'm hoping that Alex has just got like the phone, you know, hitting that like button, making multiple accounts, you know, all of that good stuff. Cheats the algorithm. Anyway, 101 Boxing, shout out to Jack T. Davis. Yeah, big him up. Mario Balotelli, you the actual real Mario Balotelli? Why always you in the chat? Get into the stage now where I think it's probably wrap it up time. I'm certainly not looking to wait for... So certainly not looking to wait for the next 20 minutes. to grab a word with Mr. Eddie Hearn. Just having a look. If you've got any more questions or queries, now I've been invited to dinner. Like, this is very much a ticking time bomb because I'm hungry. Ben can go and see if anybody's flaunting about, as he said. Go and see if anyone's flaunting. Yeah, just go have a look. So I've been left alone now. I've been left to my own devices, which was always a bit of a concern. You never know. I might get cancelled out here. I'm going to try and just try and be really boring for the next 5 minutes until Ben comes back. People might say that I'm good practice with something like that. But anyway, we are still cooking here live from Sheffield as the Josh Warrington and Lee Wood, or Lee Wood and Josh Warrington weigh-in has now finished. Both fighters making weight, both comfortably inside the 126-pound featherweight limit. We have a fight tomorrow. Lee Wood makes the first defense of his second reign as WBA featherweight champion of the world against Josh Warrington. Josh Warrington written off coming into this fight. I'm telling you, Josh Warrington does show up for the big domestic fights, but Lee Wood, I think, rightfully a small favorite as we enter the fight. I think he's about 7-4 on at Bet365. Big up Bet365 every time. So Lee Wood, I think, on the back of that run of fights, of course, against Zucan, against Michael Conlon, the two fights with Mauricio Lara, now has Lee Wood he's a slight favorite, but a kind of a clear favorite in a close fight, if that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, it's Friday. We're all tired. We're looking to go home. But anyway, Ben's come back empty-handed. Terrible. So he's just having a little look and he's having a little wonder. Have we got any more? Jack T. Davis, Rob, what's your thought on builders? Mate, like, I don't know. I'm gonna get Frank Smith out for his disdain at the working class. And he's interviewing Frank Smith now, actually. Shout out to builders. Jack T. Davis asks, what kind of things do journos hear behind the scenes leading up to fights, etc.? The public might not hear, flu, weight issues, etc. Yeah, all of that. It's one of I don't get to go to that many shows nowadays, which is a bit of a shame. It's not really my job anymore. But it's one thing you do miss. Like, you do miss hearing those little whispers, and you really do get as close to the action as possible when you cover a fight week. And you do hear these little whispers, and when you've done a fair few fights, as we all have now at Boxing News and One-on-One Boxing, you do kind of have certain things that you look for and that you hear. And I have to say that I haven't heard much this week because I haven't been here. But in my conversations with both Lee Wood and Josh Warrington, which are both available now on One-on-One Boxing, like, comment, and subscribe, all that good stuff, they both, they're very open and honest people. They're both at a stage of their career where, these are the big fights for them. These are the big payoff fights. I feel like that is going to bring the best out of both fighters. I think Josh Warrington really needs to work against something. I think he really needs people to write him off, Josh Warrington. He is very much, he's a Leeds fan. They're hated far and wide by everybody, and they wouldn't have it any other way. So I think Josh Warrington being written off going into this fight, because I feel like he has been, is actually good for him. I feel like he had that chip on his shoulder against Lee Selby. Yeah, you're a ticket seller, but you'll never beat Lee Selby. Yeah, you beat Lee Selby, but he was tight of the weight. He should have moved up. You'll never beat Carl Frampton. Then he beat Carl Frampton. You'll never fight Kid Galahad. He fought Kid Galahad. Josh Warrington's a serious man. I think a lot of people are writing him off in this fight. I think rightfully, due to the activity, Lee Wood is a favourite at the bookies. He has boxed twice this year. We haven't seen Josh Warrington since that loss to Luis Alberto Lopez, but we saw what Luis Alberto Lopez did to Michael Conlon. Ran through him in spectacular fashion. So that's a loss for Josh Warrington, which was a close fight. It was a fight where Luis Alberto Lopez won, but I feel like Warrington just started a bit too slow in that fight. Could have started a couple of rounds earlier. Who knows how that fight could have gone? We could have seen Josh Warrington pip Luis Alberto Lopez at the post, but he didn't. And Luis Alberto Lopez has gone on to prove himself to be a very, very worthy world champion in his own right. So I think this is a really, really close fight. I really, really do. I think that the demise of Josh Warrington has been somewhat exaggerated in the build-up to this one here. John Bailey, what's the biggest rumor that you fell for that turned out to be completely unfounded? Well, to be honest, I don't know. It's quite on the spot one. So actually, to be fair, so I had Andy out for your Dennis Ugas versus Manny Pacquiao. And everybody had talked about the injury, the bicep, because I'm not going to do the weigh-in because I'm fat. But like we had your Dennis Ugas on the scales, he did the pose and his bicep was split. And we had all sorts. I had various people who were on the ground, Andy being one of them, saying, "Oh yeah, I've heard he's injured, but he took the fight because it's Pacquiao, it's this, that, and the other." And then he went and won 12 rounds against Manny Pacquiao and completely dominated the fight. Whether I say I fell for that, I'm not sure. You kind of take things with a pinch of salt when you've been doing it for as long as we have, and without seeing it yourself, you're always hesitant to take second, third, fourth, fifth hand information. I remember a good one though that I did know about was Manny Rodriguez against Naoya Inoue when they came over for the World Boxing Super Series. I was in the hotel with Manny Rodriguez all week that week and noticed that he was unwell. He was struggling to make the weight. He had flu. The colleague that I was working with, Ryan Elliott, the one and only Ryan Elliott, speaks a bit of broken Spanish. Heard him wanting to essentially go home. Didn't really want to fight anyway. And this was kind of at a time where people didn't really like. They kind of knew about Inoue, but unless you were like a hardcore, you didn't really know about Inoue. And yeah, I lumped on Inoue to win early, and win early he did. So yeah, that was an example of it working correctly. I think. Yeah, I don't think there's any kind of outstanding examples. Don't worry, mate. If you need to kind of, yeah, it's all good. Like we're very ad hoc here, one-on-one boxing, and we're very much in the way as well. So yeah, I think we're getting to the point now where we might be winding down. I've said that for the last 20 minutes or so. Jack T. Davis, dream fights for 2024 and most likely to be world champ by 2025. Dream fight for next year. Canelo Benavidez, man. We need it. We need it. The people need it. The Charlo fight was not a good fight. It was not a good fight. But it takes two to tango, and I don't think Charlo really came to win that fight. Please don't tell Jermell Charlo because he will fill me in. Although, if he can't make a dent at 168, he's not going to make a dent at 268, is he? Let's go, champ. But I think Canelo kind of needs that Benavidez fight. Look, say needs that Benavidez fight. Canelo will go down as a modern great, I'm sure. A fantastic fighter who's been around the block and then some and achieved a hell of a lot in his career. But without Benavidez, where's the big option? Where's the big fight for Canelo? I don't really want to see the Jamal Charlo fight. I think Jamal is boxing Jose Benavidez Jr. at some point before the end of the year. If he wins that and looks spectacular, I still don't want to see the fight. So Canelo versus Benavidez for me, I think is the one for next year. Trying to think who else. I think we'll get Inoue versus Tapales at some point before the end of this year, which would mean Inoue at featherweight next year. Inoue versus. I'd really like to see Inoue versus Robeisy Ramirez. That's a really good fight. But yeah, Canelo Benavidez for me. Fury Usyk, because I don't think we get Fury Usyk this year. I think we get it. I do think we get it, which is the first time I've actually thought that fight would happen. But I'm not sure we get it on December the 23rd, and hopefully we don't anyway. So yeah, for me, Canelo versus Benavidez. What about you? What about you, Jack T. Davis? What do you think? And most likely to be world champ by 2025. Most likely to be world champion by 2025. Ooh. Because that's like a whole year away. So you need somebody who's still on the building stage for next year, I think. Is he going to get a chance to fight for a world title? I think the belts will probably become vacant. Yeah, maybe. Boot Ennis. Yeah, I think so, because I think Crawford will most likely move up and try and win a title at 154 pounds. So yeah, I think maybe Boots Ennis, 147 pounds. Adam Azim by 2025. I'm not sure. Super lightweight. Because all of those killers are going to be going to super lightweight, aren't they? There's talking about like Teofimo Lopez against Gervonta Davis. There's talk about who else at 140? Shakur Stevenson, I'm sure, will be up there before long. That's a difficult division to win a world title. Adam seems very, very good, but I think they might wait for the right opportunity at 140. There's no rush. Certainly very, very young man. So yeah, I'll go for Boots. And by I mean Ben. Ben went for Boots, and I agree with him. So yeah, Boots Ennis by 2025. I think he picks up one of those vacant welterweight titles. Just having a look through some of the bits here. Matchroom have spoken about the winner fighting Joe Cordina. If you're Joe, do you view that as a big fight, or would you be pushing for that unification? Good question, John Bailey. It sounds like Cordina wants a big fight. I think the winner of this would be a big fight to a degree, certainly. Is it the fight that Joe Cordina wants? He was very open about wanting to fight O'Shaquie Foster, the WBC super featherweight champion. You've got Emmanuel Navarrete now, who was fantastic against Oscar Valdez. That's a brilliant fight. Who else holds the hardware at 130? You've got Cordina's got the IBF, Navarrete's got the WBO, WBC is O'Shaquie Foster. Who's got the WBA super featherweight? Hector Luis Garcia. Has he still got that? Anyway, could be them. But I think Cordina wants a big fight. I think this is a big fight. I think if, let's say, Wood wins this fight and wants to move up and become a two-weight world champion, I think that's a good fight. And certainly one that Joe Cordina would be interested in. So yeah, quite like that. I think there's certainly the potential for Joe Cordina to get the winner of this moving up. Robeisy Ramirez has got the WBO at featherweight. The Benavidez fight is huge and would only be right for Rob and Deck to make the really tough trip to Vegas against his UK Rob Boxing. Yeah, not just Rob and Deck, of course. We'll have the one and only Ben Farouki, and we might even bring young Purewal over for that one. Might treat him, let him out of the cage like Chris Algieri. Big man thing. All right, let's go. UK Rob Boxing. Do you think we get the Canelo versus Bud? I personally hope not. No, I don't think we get that. I think there's weight classes for a reason. If we were going to get that fight, I think we probably needed Jamel Charlo to maybe give a slightly better account of himself. I don't really see how you sell that fight when you see how obviously undersized Charlo was. Whether you rate Bud higher than Charlo, I do. I think most people do, certainly pound for pound. Yeah, a 154 looking undersized as he was. Can we really expect to see a welterweight move up, even one as good as Terence Crawford? And you'd hate Crawford to move up and just be too small. Like you'd hate that, and him to kind of get a beating. You don't really want to see that. And I think Canelo would win that fight and win it well. I know Shakur Stevenson is kind of thrown his support behind Terence Crawford, but they're very, very close. So yeah, I don't want to see that fight, and I don't think we do see that fight. Crawford Charlo, man, make that 154. Let's go. Jack T. Davis, Andy Cruz to win a world title by 2025. He's boxing at lightweight, isn't he? There's a lot of politics to navigate there. He's boxing on the Prograis Haney undercard, Andy Cruz, which for me, he boxed in July, I think it was, when he boxed Burgos in his debut. I would have liked to have seen him have at least 2 fights before the end of this year. For one reason or another, we've not seen that. We've only got one more from Andy Cruz. He'll have had 2 fights in the first 6 months as a pro. Would have ideally liked that to win 3, if not 4. Certainly with the amount of shows that Matchroom have around the world, they're big in various territories, and they've got shows seemingly every week. So it would have been nice to see Cruz maybe get a run out in between the December and July bouts. And I think it's just going to be tough. It's going to be tough because he's very, 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 very good, Andy Cruz, and doesn't come with the type of fanfare. Look, we all know who he is. We're hardcore boxing. We're all losers, aren't we, really? But there's a whole mass amount of normal people who don't actually know who Andy Cruz is. So that's going to be the tricky thing for Matchroom Boxing. I think it's fair to say they have an absolute superstar in Andy Cruz in waiting, really. But waiting is very much the optimal word there. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some time to build him to a point, either politically, whereby you can force a mandatory, or you're going to have to pay somebody a hell of a lot of money to get in the ring. And yeah, it's interesting. I said this to Eddie in Mexico. We were over for Canelo Ryder. That was, of course, when the announcement was made for Andy Cruz. And they had different circumstances, but they had Daniil Yulusinov Matchroom a few years ago, Olympic gold medalist, brilliant talent, wonderful fighter. And it never really quite worked. I'm certainly not laying any blame at the door of Matchroom Boxing. But it's difficult to build those guys in a Western English speaking kind of dominated landscape, particularly at welterweight, when they're kind of it's been monopolized really by Al Heyman. How do you get Daniil Yulusinov a shot at welterweight? How do you get Andy Cruz a shot at lightweight? So we will see that. So just getting some of the inside scoop now. People talking to me about the respective weigh-ins and what have you. But yeah, we'll see. Okay. Right, let's get through this. Pacheco, maybe. Yeah, maybe that's a good shout, Rob Boxing. So when I go off screen, I'm not being lazy. I'm just going down to the laptop. Just said Pacheco maybe UK Rob boxing. Yeah, I think so. Pacheco, super middleweight is a pretty terrible division, to be fair. It's very top heavy with Canelo Alvarez. If you only kind of look at the rest of the names in there, yeah, you've got Benavidez. I was going to say David Morrell. So yeah, that's not a bad shout actually. Particularly with Canelo, Canelo could do something mental, move up to cruiserweight, like vacate his belts, and then fight for a vacant title. But I like what Matchroom have done with Diego Pacheco. They've brought him along really nicely. I think you only have to look at what he did to Jack Cullen and the fact that Jack Cullen is still very much a British level or above fighter. And Pacheco did a very, very good job on him. Tim Barr, following you, big up Tim Barr, following you, says, does Warrington retire if he loses tonight? Well, if he loses tonight, mate, he's definitely not fighting tomorrow. So, yeah, if he loses tomorrow night, depends on the fashion, but I think, yeah, to be honest, yeah, I think I think Warrington, having the success that he's had in his career at the level that he's operated at, I don't think losing to Lee Wood will be part of his plan, which is obviously an obvious thing to say, but I think Warrington will see him losing to Wood as him losing below his level when you consider beating Selby, beating France. And that's no slight on Lee Wood, and certainly not how I feel, but I think Warrington, having boxed at the stage that he's boxed at the level he's boxed at in this stage of his career, yeah, I think that if Warrington loses tomorrow, it's probably difficult for him to come back. You may see him up at 130. I'm sure the IBF will rank him being a two-time world champion at featherweight. You could see Cordina versus Josh Warrington even on the back of a loss. I don't know. But yeah, I think a lot depends on how that goes tomorrow night. Eddie's got the Ellaby co-award onto that. I mean, I'm not in any position to comment on anybody's fashion sense. But yeah, he does look like a plonker. Anyway, John Cahill. Oh, that was just what I just read out. Tim Barr following you. What's next for Lee Wood if he wins on Saturday? Well, I know what he wants. He wants the box at the City Ground. He wants the box at the home of his beloved Nottingham Forest Football Club. But can he make it happen? When can that happen? It'll have to be next summer. Who is that going to be? Does he move up and try and become a two-weight world champion box Joe Cordina? Does he try and unify the division against a Robeisio Ramirez? I don't know. It's going to be difficult. Ray Vargas has moved back down from super featherweight now. He'll be reclaiming his position as the WBC champion down at featherweight after that loss to Sharky Foster. So yeah, I think that Lee Wood will definitely have options, but what he will want to do is box anyone at the City Ground in Nottingham. It would be great for him to see that as well, particularly what Lee Wood has gone through in the last few years and the crazy ascent that he's had in the featherweight division. It would be brilliant for him to tick that last box on the bucket list and box at the City Ground. John Bailey, where does the winner of this fight rate in the division? I'm thinking third behind Lopez and Ramirez. Yeah, we actually spoke about this on the pod, myself, Barry, and Andy, which we haven't done for a couple of weeks, which is all my fault, which I was going to say feel guilty about, but come on, man, I'm busy. But anyway, yeah. I think the way that we did it was having Lopez is number one. The winner of this fight becomes number two. But I think Robeisio Ramirez beats all of them. So featherweight's kind of wide open, man. Like it's as fun as it's been in a long time. We've got Brandon Figueroa as well as the WBC interim champion. He's a handful. Brandon Figueroa against Robeisio Ramirez is a great fight. I think he's going to box Ray Vargas, which is a really good fight. You've got Ray Vargas, who's big and long and can control the distance, against Brandon Figueroa, who is an absolute monster. Even moving up from super bantamweight to featherweight, he is an absolute handful, that bloke. I thought he beat Stephen Fulton. I thought Stephen Fulton got the rub of the green that night. We could have seen Naoya Inoue against Brandon Figueroa for the super bantamweight titles, as opposed to Inoue versus Stephen Fulton. That's still a fight I'd really like to see as well. Inoue versus B-Fig, Brandon Figueroa. Happy Power. Who do you think Tank fights next, Rob? I don't know. I saw the talk about Teofimo Lopez. I'm all in on that. What about you guys? Yeah, I'm up for that one. Will it happen? I don't know. I don't know what Teofimo Lopez's status is with Top Rank. I know that they've had a bit of an up and down relationship over recent times, but I think the last time I saw of it, particularly with that performance from Teofimo Lopez against Josh Taylor, that certainly helped. Yeah, that's the fight, isn't it? Well, from the ones that's been talked about, the fight is, for me at least, Gervonta Davis versus Shakur Stevenson. That's the one. That's the one. But I don't think that's going to happen. I also don't think his fight with Teofimo Lopez is going to happen. It's difficult with Tank because you don't really hear much. Okay, the Garcia fight is kind of the anomaly because everybody had clamored for it and there was a lot of talk and back and forth and social media and stuff like that. But generally speaking, PBC keep their cards very close to their chest. There's been talk about the Isaac Cruz rematch. I don't really see how that goes any different from the first fight. The only way I could see it going different is if Davis manages to stop him in the rematch. Of course, he had the hand injury in the first fight. Who else? They got Frank Martin, unbeaten lightweight. There was talk of inboxing Shakur Stevenson. So that could be an option. But as I said to Tom Loeffler earlier, we're not here to be realistic. We're here to dream. We're here to dream on 101 boxing. And the dream for January is Gervonta Davis versus Teofimo Lopez. So we'd like that one. We would like that one. Happy Power. Happy Power also says, thoughts on Bentley versus Heaney. I think it's a hard fight for Nathan Heaney. I think Denzel Bentley has really come into his own in recent times. I've been super impressed by the way that he's bounced back from that loss to Felix Cash a couple of years ago. Give a very good account of himself against Janibek Alimhanuli, who is, in my mind, soon to become the unified middleweight champion of the world against Vincenzo Gualtieri. So yeah, I think Bentley is a strong favourite in that fight. I have all the time in the world for both guys, both very, very nice men and good fighters. I just think that Bentley has boxed at the higher level and Heaney may struggle with the jump in levels. I don't think it's one level. I think it's two or maybe more for him against Denzel Bentley, who I think is becoming, middleweight is not the murderer's row that it was a few years ago. And at the minute, it's a little bit wide open. I think if you're Denzel Bentley and you look at your performance against Alimhanuli, you fancy that as in a rematch, gave a very good account of himself, won plenty of rounds, just maybe suffered from that slow start. Was a little bit too respectful of the champion that night. John Bailey, if Nick Ball beats Dogbay, do you give him one more against the loser of this fight? Asked John Bailey. Potentially. That's a really good fight. Nick Ball against Isaac Dogbay. Isaac Dogbay is a good fighter. Lost those couple of bouts against Emmanuel Navarrete, but we all know how good Emmanuel Navarrete is. Had that win over Joet Gonzalez as well. Dogbay had a win over Adam Lopez. He's been matched pretty tough in recent times, I think, Isaac Dogbay. And yeah, I think he's a very, very good test for Nick Ball at this stage of his career. I really love watching Nick Ball. He's one of the most exciting fighters to watch in British boxing. Launches into his attacks. I kind of call him slightly tongue-in-cheek, the Scouse Gervonta Davis, because he has got that explosive style. But Dogbay is a handful, mate, and he's a hard man. He's a tough fighter. If Nick Ball can't hurt him, and there's a good chance that he can't, then that's going to be a very interesting fight. Isaac Dogbay, the more experienced man, boxed at a much, much higher level, both at super bantamweight, as Lee Wood again, but at super bantamweight and featherweight. There he is, just walking past there, Lee Wood, looking nice and full at the weight now. John Bailey says, wasn't he Frampton's main sparring partner? Yeah, I mean, I've heard lots of stories about Dogbay coming to the gym when he's 16, 17. He was trained by his dad at the time. You really hear about how kind of, what's the word here? His dad was a very tough trainer on him, Isaac Dogbay. Used to spar Frampton while he was kind of still at school and give a very good account of himself. And he is a very, very tough guy. You only have to watch those Emmanuel Navarrete fights and the stick that he took in those fights to know that. So, yeah, Dogbay's been around the block. I think the last time I saw him was in Miguel's gym in Brixton, where he used to train. Of course, Ghanaian, but it's based over here and kind of traveled the world and got his work in. He's a very experienced, still not old fighter. He's got a lot of experience for his relative youth. So I think that's a really good fight. And if Nick Ball thinks he's going to blow Isaac Dogbay out in a couple of rounds, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's going to be a fight where Nick Ball's going to have to show some maturity, pick his shots, and try and break Dogbay down as the fight continues. But that's not how Nick Ball fights, and that's why we love him. He's going to go there, he's going to let the big shots go, and he's going to try and knock Isaac Dogbay spark out. Jack T. Davis, favourite sparring stories. Unwritten rule about being in the gym when fighters are sparring is you keep your mouth shut. What can I tell you that isn't going to get anyone in trouble? Watch Josh Taylor spar Luke Campbell. That was very good. Very high quality work, high class work. That was probably the best spar I've seen skill for skill. That was when Campbell was preparing for Lomachenko and Taylor was preparing for Prograde. And you had two southpaws preparing for southpaws. So they got a lot of good work in. So that was very, very high level stuff. But as far as details go, you have to respect the sanctity of the gym. I don't want to get thrown out of the gym. I like to go to the gym. But yeah. John Bailey, do we know whatever happened to Romeo Romeo? I thought Sam Jones signed him a few years back, but nothing seemed to happen. I think he failed a drugs test, didn't he? He got a drugs ban, Romeo Romeo. If he didn't, that's completely, libelous, and shout out the lawyers. But yeah, I think he had a drugs ban, and I'm not sure if he's been back since, what he's doing since. I'm not really sure, mate, to be honest with you. But yeah, Romeo Romeo, that's a throwback for British boxing fans of a certain vintage. But yeah, interesting guy, Romeo Romeo. Right, I've said it about 15 times, but we are winding down. If you've got anything that you'd like to throw my way, then let me know. Because we are going to be winding up here for one-on-one boxing. They are taking everything down around us as we sort of kind of still try and invade everybody's space and invade everybody's privacy. So yeah, I think we're probably going to call it there. Ben, I think we're probably going to call it there. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here on one-on-one boxing. Yeah, there's 1, 2. Yeah, I'm not waiting 4 more people for Hearn. Sorry. If you want to listen to Eddie Hearn, go on Boxing News on the YouTube channel, Andy P. If he hasn't got it up already, he's doing it now. So he should be up there and available to everybody. But thank you, as always, for joining us as we have weighed in at the Wood Warrington weigh-in on one-on-one boxing. Thank you to our esteemed guests who joined us. We had world champions, British champions, soon to be world champions. We had trainers of champions, promoters and managers of champions, been champions galore here in Sheffield. And we always endeavor to bring you the very biggest and best names on one-on-one boxing. So thanks very much to everybody in the live chat. And we will see you very, very soon. Don't forget to comment underneath who you think's going to win. Is it going to be Lee Wood? Is it going to be Josh Warrington? One thing's for sure. We'll find out tomorrow night. Now, like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch up